We're live, episode 57. Welcome, Dave.
57 already.
I know. It's crazy. Well, in the times I've been unprepared, this is one of the worst. And for some reason, I have to figure out why. Hopefully my mic is working this week because it wasn't working very well last week because I didn't plug it into the right machine. But I can see a lag in my video right now, and I do not know what hits this thing so hard when I run this show. But I guess we'll just go with what we got.
Yeah, it seems good on my side, so
all right.
No worse than normal.
All right. Okay. Well, this is the Duluth Conservative podcast or show or whatever we call it. And we are going to go through some news stories that we've seen. We're going to do top stories first, then we're going to walk through Duluth, Minnesota legislation, national and international. Try to wrap it up in about an hour and 15 minutes, something like that. And we're going to start with the top stories. So, yeah, we can just drop that completely. I made this the top story because this is driving me nuts, and we'll talk a little bit in length of this. Democrats block legislation. This is Minnesota Democrats block legislation that would keep SNAP benefits from being used on candy and soda. So there is an effort on, I think it was Kennedy. He's now in charge of Health and Human Services, and he wants to cut out that SNAP benefit. And he's actually making it so that he's not giving federal funding, I believe, to city or states that do not do this. So the Democrats are blocking this because they don't like it. And I want to talk about a couple of things that they said. So Representative Bjorn Olson explained that banning junk food from SNAP would also give Minnesota access. Well, sorry, he's saying that it would give access to millions in rural healthcare funds under a federal program. So Democrats expressed concern that limiting SNAP eligible foods would cause confusion at grocery stores and deprive diabetics of food that could help a sugar low. So that was funny to me just to begin with, to say, diabetics might not live. You're killing people. You're literally killing people because of this. They can't get a candy bar with SNAP benefits. And for some reason, it seems like they're thinking that what they're saying is you cannot buy snacks or anything if you are on SNAP benefits. That's not true. You just can't use the SNAP card to actually pay for it. You can get some dollars out of your pocket and pay for it, but that's money that's for you, right?
Right.
You don't want to spend it on food. That's for your fun. So that they also said that it's easy to turn recipients of this into the boogeyman. And then it goes on. Instead of asking corporations to pay their fair share, or millionaires or billionaires to pay their fair share. So they're saying you're turning SNAP benefit people into boogeymen, when in turn, they're actually using their boogeyman reference that they always use. It's millionaires and billionaires and paying their fair share. So the people who need the help the most can put food on the table for their children. They're not taking away the SNAP benefits. What they're doing is trying to limit people from buying really bad food with them. And so encouraging them to buy things like rice and beans and meat and products that you can use to make food that are good for your kids and good for you. And I'm going to post that article that Dave just showed, but I'm also going to post it's a 2-hour session. It's Health and Human Services. It's one of the committees where they're talking about this, and I'll timestamp it because I was watching it, and there's a guy named, I don't know how you pronounce his first name. It's X and P. So Zip Lee. And he's going on to say, oh yeah, it's so bad because what you're doing is you think of candy, you think of children. You're taking food away from children. It's the most ridiculous argument you can think of. So if you look down at anybody eating candy, it's adults that buy this stuff and eat it. So his argument is so mind-numbingly stupid that I actually started to go cross-eyed, I think, when I was listening to it. I'm trying to imagine myself in one of these committees, and I don't know how I'm going to react to it if I do get on one of these committees. So it could be a very interesting timeline if I get on there.
Yeah, it's just yeah, you wonder how these morons even get elected. I mean, they say such stupid things when they're a committee. At what point why doesn't this get out in the internet world so that people don't vote for people like that?
Yeah, or do they know that this is their opinion and they still vote for them? I mean, that's even more scary.
Right.
So if anybody knows a really good argument for not having for being able to buy candy and soda with SNAP benefits, I'd like to hear it. And I don't want to hear the same old story because I just don't believe it that it's I mean, they say it's racist, they say that it's confusing, they say that it's it's depriving diabetics from being able to regulate their blood sugar. I mean, that's not anything. So what really we got to do is find a real reason that you think that you should be able to use government assistance to pay for things that are the lowest denomination of food, and why you shouldn't just be able to pay for it yourself. I mean, really, if you have that extra money, if you really want to buy those things, buy it with your own money, and then reduce their SNAP benefits if they don't need it for all the food that they're going to buy, like rice and beans and eggs, and used to be chicken, that some of the cheaper food that you can make last a long time. That's giving somebody a helping hand as opposed to giving a handout just so they can eat whatever they want. So,
yeah, SNAP benefits are there for food,
right,
not candy.
Real food.
It's simple.
Another top story: 5 individuals plead guilty in connection with Minnesota fraud schemes. So we got yet another fraud story coming out of Minnesota, and you've noticed recently that a lot of the fraud stories just go away. Nobody's talking about them anymore in Minnesota. They're rampant. They're horrible. They're far-reaching, and it's costing us billions of dollars, but nobody talks about them anymore. So there's the 5 individuals that plead guilty in connection of Minnesota fraud schemes. This is on top of the Feeding Our Future thing that I think has now 68 convictions somewhere in there. So this is an ongoing Minnesota problem. We're becoming known just like Illinois is being known, and and Detroit actually as a city, but we're becoming a corrupt area, and that's what Minnesota is being known for. Unless we root this out pretty soon, it's going to just be ingrained in the system. So there has to be some sort of real effort to go after not only the people that are doing it, which I think they're doing now, but to go after the people that are in charge of this. You can't just be put in charge of something and walk away scot-free with this when there's this much fraud going on, this much stealing. So time to get that under control.
I don't really mind it kind of going away for now, as long as it comes back right before the election, so that people realize that the Democrats have thrown away billions, maybe 20, $30 billion. Who even knows how much they actually thrown away? So that they throw these people out of office. And we'll get into later in the show about the plans, if they get the trifecta back, how they're going to destroy Minnesota. So it's best that, it's time for all these Democrats to go.
Exactly. Yeah, because you were talking about them having something where they introduced a bill, but then they said something like, well, this won't pass now because we got Republicans in control, but we'll just bring it back when, the next time the Democrats are in control, and we'll shove it down your throat. So they know there's opposition to it. They do not care whatsoever, right?
Yeah. It's somehow really, I think they're getting back into power. So.
Yes, exactly. Another story, another one that I found interesting is there's a thing called the National Democratic Institute, NDI. The Democratic Party has this international arm called the National Democratic Institute. It's funded by $181 million a year in U.S. tax dollars. Its board includes Stacey Abrams, Donna Brazile, and Tom DeShell. For 40 years, NDI has told every developing country on earth that voter ID is essential for election integrity. So for other countries, it's essential. But for the United States, no, we can't have it. Because it's essential we don't have it for the Democrats, because that's how they steal the vote. So I thought that was interesting that they would come up with that kind of just complete turnaround when it comes to other countries. All right.
Well, even Schumer was talking about mandatory voter ID back in '95,
Oh yeah.
and then all of a sudden he changed. Now he's back again to, oh, it's Jim Crow 2.0, whatever point
Yeah.
he's trying to make on that.
Let's see. Oh, so have you seen that the ICE agents were being deployed to the airports? And did you
Yes.
see that Dallas airport was basically empty the day after that happened? Like the lines that had been out the door, it was basically no way. They were going straight through. So Richard Blumenthal said that ICE agents at airports will only aggravate delays in lines, disrupting checks, interrogating travelers, dragging parents from children, detaining citizens, brutalizing families, shooting, and even killing. Geez, I can't tell if this guy is fear mongering or not, but it kind of seems like he is, huh?
Yeah, I noticed that none of the ICE agents got run over by a car or got threatened with a gun. So it's been pretty safe there, actually.
Yeah.
And you talk to most of the people on the that is, the news have been broadcasting, and they actually like them there because it's nice and quiet.
Yeah. Well, it's doing its purpose, which is getting people through the lines
and keeping everyone calm. You don't hear about, the fights and the gun battles at the airport anymore. Just people just showing up and standing in line. And
yeah, it's interesting when you don't treat them, when you don't scream in their faces and go and attack them. They're just regular people like you and me that have a job. Next top story. In Minnesota, court ruling pending as girls' softball season opens under policy allowing males to compete. As we await a ruling from the court, girls in Minnesota continue to compete on an unfair playing field, said Hal Frampton, senior counsel of Allegiance Defending Freedom. So yeah, they're still doing this garbage where they're letting boys compete with girls, which if you have an intramural team, that's fine. But an all-girls team, it's that's not good competition. The girls just are not as developed as the boys are, especially when you get over into the high schools, right?
Yeah, it's a safety thing. It is a money thing too, because if the girls don't do well in high school, they're not going to make a college team. A lot of the college teams use scholarships to get the good girls to play there. So they're depriving women of going to college, basically, because just like the, SNAP benefits, you're taking candy away from children.
Right.
That's okay. But taking scholarships away from women, well, that's acceptable, I guess.
Yeah. Somehow we're going to have to figure that out and tie that together so that doing this is taking candy away from kids during Easter, like that Zeeling did. Good point. I'm just distracted because my video just keeps flickering. So anytime I see it, it's like off-putting to me. The last top story is Elizabeth Warren. You know Elizabeth Warren, right, Dave? She proposes a wealth tax on the top 1% again. So she's proposing to impose new annual taxes on the nation's wealthiest households, arguing it would address inequality and generate significant federal revenue. Sponsors said the revenue could be used to fund domestic priorities, including universal child care, expanding housing construction, a larger child tax credit, tuition-free community college, and lowering the Medicare eligibility age to 55. Supporters say the proposal would help level the playing field and reduce disparities in wealth, including racial wealth gaps and increasing federal revenue from high wealth households. So it's the same old argument over and over. And you know what the
Right.
biggest problem is? They don't have any concept of what they would do. If they got all this new money, they would just spend it again and be in the same position they're at in 2 years.
Right.
That's what
Yeah.
Minnesota did with the surplus. They spent it all, they raised taxes, and they're out of money already anyway. And if we look at the bills that are being proposed by especially the Duluth representatives, it's always about taxing and spending. It's never about cutting or curtailing or making things more efficient, because that's all they know how to do is spend until there's a problem, and then tax until they have their money back, and then spend some more. It's a vicious cycle.
Yeah, I mean, we're only 30 trillion plus in debt for the national. And so she's not going to pay down the national debt with this money. She's going to spend it.
Right.
She's going to, she's going to solve the Democrat problem.
Which is?
Buying votes. How do I get elected? Yep.
Okay. That's it for the top news stories. Now we're going to go into Duluth news. And I want to talk about this one that's very good. So A&Dubs is a place down in Lincoln Park. It's in West Duluth. And it's been there for years. It was right near where my grandparents' house was when I was growing up. My grandpa used to take us down there every once in a while. Best root beer ever. And really good burgers, and it was really cheap. And every year at wintertime, they'd board it up. And it always looked like it was closed forever because they were going to demolish that building. And then in springtime, lo and behold, they'd open up again. It's a drive-in now. I don't even know if you can go in the restaurant anymore. Well, 2 years ago, it didn't open up in the summer. And then last year, it didn't open up summer. And it was like, oh, shoot. Well, it finally went. It's reopening. So there are new owners, but hopefully it's kind of the same thing. It's just a very good Duluth, not well-known thing to outside of Duluth. Place to go for burgers and really good root beer and food and great service. They're very nice there. So if you get a chance, go down to Lincoln Park, check out A&Dubs. They're going to be open again. I don't know when. They usually open right at spring, so it should be any time if they're not open already.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I heard rumor the 25th, which was yesterday. So,
oh, great.
Yeah. If you like draft root beer, got to go there.
Yeah, they make it themselves, right?
Yeah.
So good. And Gordy's Hi-Hat opens for its 67th season. So that's over more towards Cloquet.
Yeah, that's in
But
Cloquet.
that is another really good place to eat. Yeah, that place is famous for its burgers. There's lines outside the door a lot of the time. So that's open. That's good. 67 years. I don't know about the ownership. I'm sure it's not the original owners, obviously, but I don't know if it's the same family.
It's the same family. It's different owners, but the same family. So they just keep passing. I think we're like third or fourth generation now or something like that. But it's been the same group of people that have been doing it forever. So
yeah. And then on a kind of a sad restaurant related note, but the Jade Fountain announced its last day in West Duluth. So the Jade Fountain is going away. That's been around for a while, hasn't it?
30 plus years. Rumor is they're moving to Wisconsin because Duluth is taxing them basically out of business again. But that's just a rumor. So
there's a really good.
What are you gonna do?
Really Chinese place over the bridge. Oh, in Superior too. I wonder if they're going to compete with that.
So we'll see, I guess, what actually happens to them. But
right. Okay. Now let's go into kind of city business stuff. The Duluth mayor warns of financial challenges. So I did a really simple run for city council a couple of years ago, and I found out just how badly our city budget is, and how much in debt it's going to be very soon. And I think the mayor, Reinhardt, I think he's a pretty good mayor. He's so much better than the last mayor was. And I think he's just putting it on the table and saying, this is going to be a problem. There's going to be some bad decisions that have to be made. People are going to have to figure out where we're going to cut or where we're going to get this revenue from. So he's been giving this warning the last couple of years, and we'll put a link to it so you can read about it. But Duluth is not going to have a lot of money coming up. And if they lose some of the state funding, we're screwed. They're going to have to cut police, firefighters. That's most of the budget is salaries for police and firefighters and other services. And those are the things you don't want to cut.
But they don't tax the welfare programs or eliminate the welfare programs. They always take away public safety. That's where they start, because they want to create that fear of, oh, if we don't get if we don't tax you more, this is what you're going to lose. Fear-based, always.
Yeah, it's always like that. I remember 20 years ago in Minneapolis, it was always, we're going to cut the police department first. It's like, really? Yeah. That's the first thing you're going to cut, because that's the threat. I mean, they can threaten people with that. They don't want to lose a police department, so they raise the taxes and people will go along with it. Sooner or later, it stops working.
Right.
And then when he delivered this, there was a bunch of protesters. How about that? They'll just protest anything, won't they? They never have good ideas for what to do. They don't have anything productive to say, but they do go into protest, which is always a nice thing. So the majority of protesters shouting centered on a lawsuit the city faces recently filed by a former police officer alleging inappropriate behavior and retaliation within Duluth Police Department. I'm not reading the next line. Nice try.
I tried.
So why what are they shouting? What are they shouting at the mayor about for this? What is his what's the big thing? Right? What's he supposed to be doing?
Yeah, he would have nothing to do with the police department.
Well, I mean not at that level, for sure.
No.
So why? I just don't know. I think they just, if you perpetually agitate somebody, then you can get them to once you've got them in that state and they're in that state all the time, they'll just protest without thinking anymore. That's their norm. They have to have it. It's like a dopamine hit on them to go out and protest now.
Well, I mean, some people go to the gym, some people are runners for Grandma's Marathon. Some people go to knitting groups. This is their social interaction, protesting.
Right.
They don't know or care about what they're protesting. This is their social group. Oh, this is what we're going to do this weekend. We're going to go down to the cities and watch Jane Fonda and that's the women's soccer lady, Bruce Springsteen, protest something.
The soccer lady, Bruce Springsteen. I like that.
I seen a picture of those two next to each other. It was like Bruce Springsteen and this Megan Maloney, or whatever her name is, for the soccer lady. They're the same.
Have you ever seen them in the same place at the same time?
Right. Yeah. Same way with Rachel McDowell and Mark Cuban from the Dallas Stars. They look exactly the same too. It's like, oh, I don't know. Maybe they are the same people. I don't know.
Maybe.
Yeah.
So with the mayor talking about the budget problems, right? The Duluth City Council steps up. They say, we need to save money. We understand it. So here's what we do. They pull the plug on the city buying gas-powered vehicles, saying they should be looking at more electric battery-controlled vehicles, because, the battery-controlled vehicles are so much more efficient, and they're so much more expensive and hard to maintain and have less resale value. And you have to replace a battery. It's $60,000. This is the Duluth City Council's main goal. It's not about fixing things for the city. It's pushing their agenda. And that's all they're going to be doing the next 2 years until they hopefully get voted out, some of them. But their main goal is not helping you, Minnesota, not helping you, Duluth. They don't care what you have to say. It's just about getting their message across. We need battery powered vehicles. We need basically oversized go-karts in a city with hills and snow and 20 below weather. They want to have electric vehicles. And with electric prices that are going to rise, it's going to be a maintenance nightmare. And you can't even maintain those cars very easily either. So that's your Duluth City Council, ladies and gentlemen.
And all they got to do is get the head of maintenance from the DTA to show up and ask him why the electric buses can't be used in the winter in Duluth.
Right.
And that should put an end to the argument, because Duluth has got like 3 or 4 electric buses, and they get stored all winter because they're useless. Yeah. They can't produce heat to keep the passengers warm. They can't make it up the hills, so on and so forth. So it's the city wasting more money and more time. But like you said, yes, it's an agenda item. They don't care.
But now they've canceled these vehicles, so somebody who's been waiting for vehicles won't get them on time until they explore other opportunities from car companies that are notoriously dialing back their EV units because they've lost so much money on them.
If you looked at the last Duluth City Council meeting, they just approved to buy 3 Ford F-250s, 3/4-ton pickup trucks to work for the maintenance department. They're gas powered because Ford quit making the EVs because they were nobody wanted them and they didn't work.
And they're losing a lot of money on them.
Yeah, and Duluth just bought 3 gas powered Ford pickup trucks.
Well, they were going to buy 6 more, but they can't get them now, I guess.
Oh.
And then I wanted to talk about one more thing that I found very interesting. The Duluth police used traffic surveillance cameras to identify the vehicle of an alleged catalytic converter thief who had been targeting businesses near Duluth Airport. So when they say these cameras are going to be used for traffic maintenance and traffic management, what they're really doing is using these for surveillance. And that wasn't the intended purpose of them. That was not what they were approved for. And sure, it's great that they can catch this guy who's stealing stuff, but that's exactly what they said they wouldn't be used for. So this is what happens. You could have the people that put them in place have all the best intentions, but once they're there, they're there. And as soon as you can get data, you will get data. So it should be chilling to people to know that this is happening. And when I was in a ride along, I saw how many cameras there are. And there's cameras everywhere, and they can dial into different angles at different intersections to see what's going on all over the place down here.
Correct. Yeah. Yeah. Go to Minnesota511.com and look at the list of cameras they have.
Oh, really?
You're not going anywhere without being on camera.
Right.
And then Ring announced during the Super Bowl about some lost dog program that they have, which basically what their idea is to take your Ring camera that you have in the front of your house and without your permission, look at your Ring footage to see if an animal walked by, to see if that dog was the one that was missing.
Right.
I think they upset a lot of people saying that they were going to do that.
Right.
Taking footage without permission.
Right. Well, I even remember do you remember way back at Super Bowl game, then Justin Timberlake and Janet Jackson, where he ripped off her top?
Oh, yeah.
You remember that?
Yeah.
And TiVo came out with something the next day. Said that was the most paused event ever on TiVo, which made people say, "You're tracking when we're pausing stuff."
Yeah.
You're being tracked with everything. So you go to Netflix, they know exactly how long you watched it, what you watched, when you backed it up, what you looked at. It's crazy amount of data that's being collected on everybody right now.
Yeah, I mean, just as
All right.
an experiment, try to find a path from your house to your, let's say, your mother's house, without passing a camera. 30
I can't even
years
get out
ago,
of this building without passing.
come up, you might have been able to come up with a path to get from point A to point B without a camera, but not anymore.
Right.
They know your every move.
All right. Okay. Let's move on to Minnesota legislature. And this is a section you've fully completed almost by yourself. So I didn't even put stuff in. SF 1245. Requirement to consider decommissioning a road or trail designated for off-highway vehicle use under certain circumstances. What's this one about?
This is the I hate ATVs, I hate snowmobile rules. They're trying
Gotcha.
to stop any road or trail that ATVs or snowmobile uses that's within 200 yards of a waterway. They use waterway or a lake. And they even included the word frozen. So even on a frozen lake, you can't have a snowmobile within 200 yards of a frozen lake. You can't, they don't want you crossing it. Then they want to change the rules on that so that anybody can sue for environmental problems. This is all to save the planet. And this is your Jen McEwen, the local DFL representatives, who is trying to destroy. I mean, you've got some of the top snowmobile ATV manufacturers up in Thief River Falls and International Falls between Polaris and Arctic.
Mm-hmm.
And this would be a death blow to them, because Minnesota has a ton of the amount of revenue generated for between snowmobiles and ATVs on the paths is just a crazy amount. And she's basically would put an end to it. And so any ATV snowmobile trail that's out there right now would be under question, and they could close that, especially if it came near a waterway. So this is what our politicians have concerned themselves with this year.
Right. And it's not just about the money either. People enjoy this. People love to do this. They live for this stuff. I mean, snowmobiling is an escape, but just like anything else, just because it's not bike riding doesn't mean it's invalid.
Right. Yeah, just the amount of people, if this went through, the amount of people that would leave the state would be crazy. It would be just a crazy amount of people would leave the state. You'd lose Polaris and Arctic also.
Yeah. And it's just another one of things that they don't try to make your life better. They try to make everybody as miserable as possible. That seems to be the whole goal. And the ones that they represent are miserable already. So they just want to make people equally miserable to them. And that just brings up, I'm going to go off on tangent now, Dave. One of Sean's tangents. This leads back to a lot of stuff I watch. You look, Star Wars, Star Trek, Indiana Jones, James Bond, Lord of the Rings. They take all of these IPs and they make them so much worse. They use them like a skin suit to do their own agenda. So they're not trying to make these IPs better anymore. They take the IP and say, well, people will watch it, so we're going to do this political thing that really is nothing to do with the show. And you would think that maybe that could happen to one or two shows. It's happened across the board. I don't know one franchise, maybe Top Gun, that hasn't done this. And Top Gun's not even a franchise. It's just two movies. But Star Trek was the latest. So they just had this thing called Starfleet Academy, which has just been canceled. Thank God. I'm very proud to say I haven't watched any of it. So, sure, maybe I shouldn't be talking about it, but I've watched so many reviews of it that I know exactly what's going on in these things. And it just is mind-boggling to me that all of these franchises could be ruined in the same way in such a short period of time, like 10 years. And it started basically with Star Wars. When they rebooted Star Wars and they just ruined that, it's been going downhill ever since until you've got, Marvel is horrible, Star Trek, Star Wars, like I said, James Bond, every one of these things that used to be very good shows for men mostly, women liked them too. They just completely obliterated them. And I don't know why that is. And it's all I can think of is they just want to make people as miserable as possible. That's all. So that's my rant. I know you don't watch half of that stuff, but I have watched it since I was a kid. And geez.
No, but Hollywood is on its deathbed right now. Between late night comedy shows and everything is woke.
Right.
Woke, go broke. And that's the direction they're heading. They're not they're not appealing to the people that they used to appeal to.
They're not trying to make the franchise better. They aren't. They just want to have their message go across, and this is just a vehicle to do it. It used to be, it used to have to work every week to keep your audience, and now it just seems like they don't care about an audience. They've lost hundreds of millions of dollars on most of these things. Ironheart for Marvel, Captain America, Brave New World for Marvel, losing money. The Ring of Power, losing money. James Bond movies, I think, are breaking even, but I haven't watched the last two because they got so bad. I just gave up on them. And this last one, the Starfleet Academy, that was like, I think they said $8 million an episode. They didn't even trend in the top 10 on Paramount's streaming service. not talking about Nielsen, just talking about their streaming service. They couldn't make it. Oh my God. The amount of money.
Did you hear what Stephen Colbert is going to be doing after his 2 months are done?
Yeah, he's writing a Lord of the Rings
for the Lord of the Rings. So he's as woke as they come. He's going to destroy that franchise, because that was just based on the books. And now what is it going to be based on?
Right, and keep in mind, he's just waiting until he's done with his contract because he got fired because his ratings were so low for late night television that they were losing $10 million a year. And now he's going to go right for this. It's going to be horrible. But you know what's going to happen? The bad guy, Sauron, whatever the equivalent is, it's going to be Donald Trump. It's going to be an allegory for Donald Trump the whole way through.
Yeah, and capitalism.
Right. Oh, yeah, right. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
All right, rant done. Let's go back to the story. Killing of 2 women raises questions about the strength of protection orders. So these ladies were unalived. See, that's a crafty way to say it. And they were given protection orders right away. And guess what? It didn't work. Now, if these women were armed, they might have been able to protect. I don't know if they were or not, but they should have been. Especially if you're filing a protection order, you should go buy a weapon, and preferably something that you can handle. It's just terrible.
Yeah, but it goes back to the point how the politicians think is, well, we made this law. Well, if we make a law, no one's going to break the law. So this piece of paper will keep her safe.
Did I not go over that? You bring that up, and it just reminds me that I was going to talk about this. Let me just see where it is. Oh God, we've got a lot of stuff to go through.
We're kind of.
Oh yeah, I missed it. I missed it up at the top stories. Mazie Hirano said that non-citizens wouldn't dare try to vote because it's already illegal, and they would be put into prison. I mean, that's going in exactly what you're talking about. She is so stupid. She thinks that the people that have broken the law to come into this country wouldn't dare break another law because it's illegal. I mean, how do you deal with people like this? How do they get elected?
Right. I was gonna murder these 2 women. However, a piece of paper told me not to. So I'm gonna stop because that would be wrong to do what this piece of paper told me to.
It reminds me of this old thing where
Morons.
you're at your house alone and you think somebody's in the closet and you're getting, so you walk up really slowly and you flip the door open. What do you expect's going to happen? Some guy with a knife's
Yeah.
like, oh, you caught me. I was so embarrassed. I guess I'll let myself out now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I am amazed by the stupidity of that woman to say something like that and mean it. And this is why I hope to pray that there's voter integrity issues. I hope to God the American citizens aren't really voting these people in, and they're actually just
Right.
being snuffed because of voter integrity problems. That's why I want this to be secure. I want to be able to at least say, I know for a fact these people were elected. And then I can start wondering about the intelligence of the people that are electing them. Right now, I have a feeling that a lot of these guys are getting elected, and it's not because they're being voted for. I know a lot of people are voting for them. I talked to some of them, but I don't think it's that majority of it. I'm glad you brought that up, Dave. I had to bring up that story.
It was just so beyond stupid that the mentality behind it, we passed a law, therefore we solved the problem.
Right. Exactly. Well, no more murders.
Yep.
Or unalives.
Yep.
All right. Let's talk about this bill that would shrink the Minnesota Senate and increase the House by 1 seat to avoid future ties. So I read this at first and I'm like, okay, what's the reasoning behind this? So what they said was there was a tie, and this was the last 2 years in Minnesota House, and they're not getting anything done because they can't. Democrats won't vote for anything, and the Republicans won't vote for anything for the Democrats. So they're saying we don't need to. This is just causing us trouble, so we should make it so it's an uneven number, so we never have a tie again. So I don't know that I support that, but I kind of get the reasoning. But I also like it when it's gridlocked. I do like it when they don't get past a bunch of stuff. Because look what the Democrats do when they get in control. They had that trifecta, and they just blasted through the worst policies possible, costing us multiple millions of dollars. And we're still paying it. We're going to be paying this for years.
Right.
So them getting a majority like that would be, where's the last vote coming from? What, Minneapolis? St. Paul? It's going to be Democrat then.
Yeah, you'd really have to figure out how the voting lines, the voting areas lay out to see if it would be, because it was introduced by a Republican, so it might be okay if those lines, but they could change that obviously, and then it'd be the death trifecta again for Minnesota.
Yeah. And then
they said
reducing the Senate from 67 to 45, I really don't have much. I don't know. It depends. I mean, let's look at the layout, but people are complaining, well, there'll be less representation for the people. I don't know if I feel represented the way it is. So if you look at this state, as a Republican, as a conservative, I haven't been represented in years around here. So being less so doesn't seem possible, does it?
No. And they said back in the 60s or the 50s, I don't know, in Minnesota, the House was one party, the Senate was another party, and the governor was a third party. And they said those 10 years were the best years of economic growth in Minnesota we ever had. Mm-hmm. Why? Because they hated each other and it was perfect gridlock.
Or they had to negotiate for stuff that was actually beneficial for everybody as a common thing.
Correct. So that's where we're at now.
You get rid of the special interest stuff on both sides and go to the center because that's the only thing that'll pass. That's actually in the benefit of the people of the state. The other fringe stuff, that's benefits for a very small percentage of people and probably the legislators.
So us being a gridlock right now is perfect. I'll take it.
Right. Let's see. Minnesota Democrats propose a new slush fund to bilk energy companies. I like that. I like the headline. Was that yours or was that?
No, I think that was actually the Daily Caller.
So it would force fossil fuel companies in Minnesota that have emitted at least 1 billion metric ton of carbon pollution since 1995 to shell out a fee for such emissions. And here's the one I was talking about. You brought it to me. This quote by a Democrat: "I don't expect it to get passed this year. Our goal is to pass it next year." Johnson Stewart told the Star Tribune. This is obviously more a Democrat bill. Yeah, because it's fleecing companies and they're not going to lose money. They're going to tax us. And the amount of
Correct.
carbon that's emitted by the United States is a fraction of what is being done by China. So you want to actually make a difference? You go over to China and start telling them how to do things.
Yeah.
And then the next one we've talked about a few times, but a bill would prohibit medical assistance coverage for weight loss drugs. So I can only imagine which lobbying people are involved with this, because people losing weight, if it's a drug that's effective and it has no side effects and it's safe, why would you not want people to have that? Lowers the risk of diabetes. They're consuming less food because they're just not hungry. They're getting into shape. Once their weight goes down, they feel better about themselves. They can go work out. Why would we not want medical coverage for this when we already have all this medical coverage for obesity and diabetes? You know, good stuff. You got to treat diabetes, but what if you could treat it a different way? What if less money had to go for there because people could lose weight and not be diabetic?
Right. Would you rather treat obesity or diabetes?
Right.
Let's make someone healthy before they get too sick to.
Yeah, before they get sick.
Yeah.
Before they start losing their hands and stuff like that.
Right.
All right, we've got some Leash Kozlowski co-authored bills here. HF 4612, health impact assessment required to be conducted in circumstances to assess the impact of proposed projects on human health. So environmental studies on everything that happens. And of course, these have to be people that are licensed by the state, right?
Oh,
money,
right.
money, right? HF 4541, Cesar Chavez Day eliminated. So he was their darling for years.
Yeah.
Years. And everything was known about him. But now Caesar's a bad guy. Personally, that's fine with me. Get rid of Cesar Chavez Day. I couldn't care less.
I was amazed that Minnesota had one, because I've never knew Minnesota had a.
Yeah.
So it doesn't really affect it. But yeah, I agree with that law.
No. HF 4602, Greater Minnesota Business Development Public Infrastructure Grant Program funding provided. So I don't know the specifics of this one. What do you know anything about it?
It's just they're just trying to if you start a company and give you money to start a company in Greater Minnesota versus well, it's actually all of Minnesota. So they get to pick and choose who they want to win, basically.
Right.
Yeah.
Seed money.
So
yeah.
Just spend more money on stuff.
Right. Yeah, it's more spending. I still haven't seen anywhere on here that's saving us any money or generating revenue outside of taxing us to death.
Right.
HF 4477, Minnesota Business Recovery Loan Program established. So there it is again. What is this going to be, forgiving loans then?
Yes, this is because of the audacity of the ICE people coming into Minneapolis and getting rid of criminals. You know, this is money set aside. So if you lost money when the ICE was here, you get a loan from the government to save your business. But it was more of a grant because it was going to be, they probably weren't going to make you pay it back. So that's a grant, not a loan. So
right. HF 4443, requirement for prorated rent to include an incomplete first month of rent modified. What is this?
It's the same thing in operations surge. If you can't pay your rent on time, they're going to pass a law so that if you pay just some of it, then it was okay. And once again, it was protecting the criminals. The state should pay for protecting criminals versus.
Okay. So now we're going to go to the Minnesota DFL House and what they announced. We're approaching a key legislative deadline this Friday, and DFLers are doing everything we can to advance bills to help Minnesotans, including lowering costs of energy, grocery, housing, childcare, healthcare, and more. How? They don't talk about how they're doing it. Brand predatory. What?
And none of the things that we just talked about are going to, they were talking about the slush fund for the energy companies. Well, that's going to raise our cost of living. They're going to charge rent for, not so some people don't have to pay their rent for their businesses. Well, that costs us money. That's raising our, everything that was listed is going to raise costs, not lower costs.
Right. Ban predatory surveillance pricing. So this is the fact that they can, a store can change prices during the day, depending on how many people are there or what's going on, right?
Yeah, having to do with demand, basically.
Yeah, I'm not opposed to that one. But I don't know how you tell a business how it's supposed to be doing its own job. Sell its own product. It's not your
right.
It's not the government's role to do that. It's not even their purview. And they seem to think when they do these no king rallies, they sure act like the government is God around here.
Yeah.
They act like we're the government. We can tell any business, any person what they're going to do. And that's it. Once we say it's so, it's so. So, go to your no king rally and realize the fact that you are the person that you're, protesting against. Ensure independent investigations into the killings of Renee Good and Alex Pretty. They're still going on this. Do your thing. You've got your Minneapolis AG. Just go, do your investigation. How about you pay for it? How about you crowdfund it if you want to pay for it instead of having us pay for it? Keep ICE out of schools and hospitals. Yeah, there's another great Minnesota thing you're doing for us. Thanks a lot. Stop the federal government from doing their job.
Yeah.
Protect Minnesotans' constitutional rights when they're violated by federal agents. Well, I think that's already in place. Maybe it could be more specific about what constitutional rights are being violated.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is. It's screaming in somebody's face and throwing stuff at them is not a right. And, they talk about this right to peaceful protest, and that's the best form of expression. It's not. You're not doing anything. You're just out there, you're screaming, yelling, and like you're saying, that's your social group. Sure, you're getting social interaction. That's about it. Here we go. Prevent fraud while also protecting the critical services Minnesota rely on, like Medicaid. So yeah, we're going to protect you from fraud, but we're not going to actually do anything about it.
No.
Keep Minnesotans safe from gun violence. Again, how are you going to do that? Are you going to take away our Second Amendment rights? You were just talking about constitutional rights 2 bullet points up. Now you're talking about this constitutional right, and you're going to limit it? And you're going to you're going to make us pay for insurance or raise the price of ammunition or put a tax on it, putting these weapons that are constitutionally guaranteed out of reach for low-income people who are, wait for it, statistically always minorities. So why are you against minorities, DFL?
Right.
Okay. So that's their little thing from the Minnesota House DFL. Bunch of garbage.
Well, if you have that piece of paper, that will solve all gun violence.
That's true.
If they put a little sticker on the gun that says, "Don't shoot people," that should solve all the problems.
What if they sold shirts that said "You can't shoot me"?
There you go. That's it.
That would work.
That'll solve the problem.
All right, we're gonna cram through a bunch of stuff here. We got right at the hour mark. So Tim Walz news. Just one thing here. Car thefts per 100,000 residents in January and February of 2026. Chicago versus Minneapolis. Chicago had 28.5 car thefts per 100,000. 28.5. Minneapolis 246.3, an order of magnitude larger. Congratulations, Minneapolis. You're more dangerous than Chicago with a far less population. Good job, guys. He can't get out of here soon enough. I'm just hoping that the next person that comes in isn't a Democrat, and if they are, they're not as loopy as him, but almost guaranteed that's going to happen, right?
Yeah, so it shows that little small fry and St. Paul mayor and the governor aren't doing their jobs. And we discussed it last week too, is all these reasons why they weren't doing it, why they were failing. But
and speaking of Fry, because now we got Minnesota news, he said that Trump should just hire out more TSA agents, not put ICE in those facilities, not understanding the role of the federal government, the executive branch, or where he can do what he can do. So maybe Donald Trump should put out ads and then personally interview them himself too, right?
Right.
Maybe he should just go eat some more rice and beans. He looked like he enjoyed it so much. And the next thing, what do you got going on here? Oh yeah, that guy perpetually looks like he's constipated or going to cry, one of the two, or both.
Yeah. So, I mean, how many people are you going to hire when they know they're not getting paid?
Yeah.
Hey, how'd you like to? But the first 30 days or whatever, we're not going to pay you, but we just hire more people that aren't going to get paid. We'll pay eventually, maybe something,
awesome.
But
well, you sold me.
Yeah. I'll sign me up.
And then man charged after 144 pounds of meth found in St. Louis Park apartment. Jimenez Zambrono, I butchered that name, requested a language interpreter for proceedings and was granted a public defender. So I'm guessing not an American citizen. I could be wrong, but if he's requesting an interpreter, probably didn't grow up here.
Right. But he's in Mary Moriarty's district, so I think that's 2 days in jail. Yeah.
Well, with compensation and probably steak dinners.
Yeah.
National news. Dems go silent. Pull Women's Month resolution after the GOP asks for a simple definition of what a woman is. This is awesome. The move triggered laughter on the House floor, with Representative Aaron Bernstein saying Democrats were scared to define what a woman actually is. You gotta love it. Yeah, they will not say it. So how can you have a woman's month if you can't even say what it is?
Yeah, if you don't know what a woman is, how do you have it that month?
It's so disrespectful to women too. I mean, it is. I mean, of all the things you think about that are like really, really disrespectful for women, not even being able to define what you are. I mean, that's not a problem for me and not a problem for you and not a problem for normal people. But these guys, they refuse. I mean, they've said such horrible terms for what a woman is. It's almost like they're dehumanizing them at this point. It's pretty sad.
Yeah, on both sides of it is why why do the Democrats treat women so horribly? And then why do the women who vote for Dems who treat them that horribly? How do you get both sides of it to work out that way? There shouldn't be a woman alive that would vote for another Dem because the Dems are, like you said, they're completely disrespecting them.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, God, a person with a uterus, I think they call it, but they can't call it that either. because they consider anybody who thinks that they're a woman to be a woman. So they're really in a bind because they've backed themselves in a corner.
Right.
The only other national news thing is Rachel Maddow was talking about Bill Barr, and she said, I don't know if he was blindsided by it or if he thought Barr was a good guy, but he could be straight shooter on this. But Barr absolutely buried him, and she's talking about the Robert Mueller and how Barr basically hoodwinked Robert Mueller and how he screwed up their investigation. So really he's guilty, but he wasn't found guilty and they had no evidence, but really he was, because Bill Barr was such a giant brainiac that he figured out how to just mess with Robert Mueller. Well, I think that's a conspiracy theory to me. I think she's a crazy, like tinfoil hat wearing conspiracy theorist. That's my opinion now.
Yeah, that would be an opinion, not a actual news journalist fact. So,
right.
But I mean,
international news.
Doesn't she look like Mark Cuban?
Yeah, or Chandler Bing. Yeah.
I mean, it's getting kind of remarkable on that.
Yes. Hang on, let's look at that. International news. Finnish MP was convicted for saying homosexuality is a developmental disorder. A Finnish member of parliament has been found guilty by the country's Supreme Court of inciting hatred after claiming that homosexuality was a developmental disorder. The man said that this outcome was a shock, and that, or a woman, I guess, and she would consider appealing the ruling at the European Court of Human Rights. Lower courts had acquitted her of all charges. So agree with her or not, you think it's offensive or not, you think she's a bad person or not, putting somebody in jail for saying something that you don't agree with, get your mind right. You know, it's not inciting hatred. It's not inciting violence. And you've got to learn how to live with people that you don't agree with. It's part of the thing about freedom of speech. I know it's Finland, so it's not the United States, but living in a free country or dealing with freedom comes with a responsibility that you have to be able to let things bounce off of you and not let it affect you all the time. And this is another scary example of what's happening in Europe.
Right, and that's what I thought the story was about. It didn't have anything to do with transgenderism. It had to do with her free speech. And, she was a member of parliament.
Yeah.
And she can't even openly discuss, and she still couldn't openly discuss what she thought it was supposed to be. I mean, there's the only way you can solve a problem is by openly discussing it.
Yeah.
And she was thrown in jail because they didn't like her opinion on it.
Right.
Right.
And the last story in international news is Portugal's Catholic Church to pay a $1.85 million fine to 57 sex abuse victims. 57 sex abuse victims from the Catholic Church in Portugal. Probably just scraping the top, not even close to the number. What is with these guys, and why did the church hide it so long? There should be an extra penalty for priests or policemen or politicians. If they do something like this, they should suffer even worse penalties than anybody else. And I can't believe the Catholic Church, anybody in that knew about it, you should just give it up now. You're not religious whatsoever. You don't believe in God whatsoever. You should just go away and wait for the fires of hell.
Yeah, I used to know a prison guard, and she knew many. She could tell many a story about as soon as the other prisoners found out they were abusing kids, that prisoner was basically marked for death, and they would end up in the hospital for the next week, guaranteed.
Yeah, and the thing about it is we've got these guys in jail that are doing more about this problem than the politicians are. And that's sad.
Right. If they'll
All right.
only pass a law. If we only had a law
That's
that
true.
said
It would stop
not
it
to
all.
abuse women, yeah, that would solve all this headache and problems. And
Exactly. All right, we'll move on to health and fitness and the very, very boring habit that's key to losing more weight. Go, Dave. Tell us about it.
well, the study found in the Journal of Health Psychology shows that eating the same thing day in and day out might help shed pounds faster than eating a range of foods. Participants who lost the most weight often stuck to a steadier diet than those who dropped the fewer pounds. Meal repeaters lost an average of 5.9% of their body weight, while novelty seekers shed an average of 4.3%. So basically, what they're saying is it's okay to eat the same stuff every single day if you're on a diet. It's actually better for you.
Okay.
And the article didn't say exactly why that is, but your body must get better at processing certain things. Therefore, it burns more of them when you're trying to diet. So if you're dieting and you can't, no one will pay for your weight loss drugs, then it's okay to eat the same stuff every day.
Right.
I mean,
I wonder if it's because it's
obviously,
so mundane that after days, you're not like you're just eating it to live and you're not looking forward to it, so you're not eating more of it.
well, possibly. I mean, but don't go to McDonald's and get the double Big Mac Whopper with cheese meal every single time. That's not going to help. That's not
Well,
really,
do you remember that show that movie Super Size Me, where the guy went to McDonald's every day and had a meal for three meals a day at McDonald's for a month?
I heard of it. I've never watched it.
So I watched it and it's garbage because you know what he was doing every time? He was getting a large pop with everything he'd get, or he'd supersize. If they asked him to supersize, he'd get that. So
Yeah.
if he didn't had any food and he was just drinking that soda, he'd have gained the same amount of weight. That is the killer right there. All that
Correct.
sugar and high fructose corn syrup, which has to process differently than sugar, that's getting into your system. It's got to convert to fat, I think, before it can go away. It's very hard to lose, very easy to gain weight on that high fructose corn syrup. But had he just had water, he wouldn't have had a movie, I don't think.
True, very true.
So all right, well, that's good advice for people. And as we've talked about before, get out. It's starting to get nice out finally in Duluth. So get outside if you can, walk around. It's worth it. If you can lose weight, it's a good thing for most people.
Yeah.
Not everybody, but most people. Okay. Anything else you want to cover before the word of the day, Dave?
I think we've got everything covered pretty much.
Okay. Well, let's go on to the word of the day. So you picked this, so go ahead.
Well, last week the word of the day was malfeasance, because Ellison and Walls are currently being impeached for these two reasons. One, malfeasance, and the other one is non-feasance. So today's word is non-feasance, and the definition is of the noun is failure to perform an act that is required by law. So that was one of the things that they were accused of.
Okay.
So obviously nothing is ever going to happen. I think we talked to Art Johnston last year about the details of all the,
Right.
when the Republicans were trying to get rid of the Democrats for not showing up for 3 weeks.
Right.
It's the same principle. Malfeasance, nonfeasance has to go to the Supreme Court. Nothing will ever happen to it because it's controlled by Democrats, and
Right.
don't worry about the governor. They don't care. They know they're not going to get voted out of office, and they're not going to have a harsh letter written in their their permanent file. So,
I think the
but that's
hard realization I've had recently is that nobody of consequence ever suffers consequences for their actions. We've been going on
yeah,
this, Trump has been in power again for 2 years. We don't see anybody facing consequences. And if he can't do it,
yeah,
if his administration can't do it, god dang sure the next one's not going to do it.
right.
So, yeah. Sorry to end at such a low note. How do we make this happier? Easter's right around the corner. So,
Yeah, next weekend, couple weekends.
yeah. So go out and enjoy
I can
that. Hopefully the weather's nicer.
I can see the road from my front window because the snowbanks have melted far enough where I can actually see it. So, I mean, summer
All right.
is improving.
Nice. All right. That's it. We're going to wrap it up. Another good week. I'm going to throw you shaka. Everybody hang loose. Be good to each other. Dave, any parting thoughts?
No, just remember that, like we always said, there's a lot of conservatives out there. You just start speaking up and definitely got to vote this year. So
Right.
prepare yourself for November to go vote. Vote in the primaries. We need, we need both. We need the conservatives to start speaking up and remember this. The No Kings rally is this weekend, so make sure you, eat at home. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's a waste of time. So I don't know what you would do instead.
Go socialize.
Be happy. Yeah.
All right. All right, man. Well, we'll talk again next week. Thanks for coming on the show. Thanks for sticking with us. And as always, like and subscribe if you like what you heard. It'll help us get our name out there. Until then, we will see you next week. And until then, I'm Sean.
I'm Dave.
And this has been the Duluth Conservative. See you next time.